The Pastor's Pasture is a Bible teaching session that is led by Dr. Leslie Minus, and the purpose is to expose pastors to some areas of the Bible that tend to go undetected, tend to go untaught in the conventional church worship environment. The idea was to have a session on Sunday morning or on Saturday evening whereby pastors can come and look more closely at those scriptures that are very critical to the church's spiritual life. This morning, being Easter Sunday morning, the topic: worship, warfare, wine, worship, and wealth. And the scriptures we looked at were Genesis chapter 14, Hebrews chapter 7, Genesis chapter 40, John chapter 2, and 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and chapter 11. Now those scriptures all refer to the W's in our topic. Abraham was forced into defending or rescuing his brother Lot when he was taken captive by the kings, according to Genesis 14. But in that chapter, after Abraham was victorious over the kings that had captured Lot and conquered Sodom, there appeared out of nowhere a man whose name is Melchizedek. With Melchizedek, to understand Melchizedek, you have to go all the way to the New Testament, in the book of Hebrews, or the epistle to the Hebrews, to get a clear understanding of the order of Melchizedek. Melchizedek preceded the Levitical priesthood, and later on we learned that he superseded the Levitical priesthood, in that it is said in the book of Hebrews that Jesus is a priest after the order of Melchizedek. He's not a priest as was under the law under Aaron and the Levitical priesthood. There's a new priesthood, and the Christian, by connecting to Jesus Christ in his death, burial, and resurrection, are able by relationship, this new relationship that is established through the born-again experience, to have this eternal relationship. And that's what Jesus brought to the human experience, a permanence of living, a permanence of life, in that the Aaronic priesthood, the priesthood under Aaron, was terminated. It literally was terminated after the death of Eli in the book of Samuel. And Samuel, or Shemuel himself, became the new prophet, more of a prophet than a priest. But it was always God's intention to bring the law to an end, because the law was not intended to be the means by which we got a permanent relationship with God. And in John chapter 1 verse 12, it says, "To as many as receive him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God." So Jesus Christ became the channel through which humans were to be permanently connected with God. That's why he used the basis of the meeting with Nicodemus, who was a leader of a representative of the Jews, and say to him, "You must be born again." In this particular time of the year, when the church meets to celebrate Easter, on this Easter Sunday, last week we celebrated the Palm Sunday, so we're celebrating the entrance of Jesus into Jerusalem. Just before Jesus was crucified, he met with his disciples and they celebrated Pesach, or Passover. Now Passover goes all the way back to Exodus chapter 12, when the children of Israel finally, after 400 years, were delivered from the control of the Egyptian pharaohs. And they had such a great economic benefit to the Egyptians that the Pharaoh, or Paro as the Jews call him, didn't really want to let them go. Only after 10 severe plagues were they allowed to leave, the last plague being the death of the firstborn. In the death of the firstborn, the Hebrews were told to use the blood of the lamb and put it on the doorposts and on the upper part of the door, so that when the angel of death, as it were, would pass over Egypt, you would see the blood. And we have that expression that is captured in many Christian songs: "When I see the blood, I will pass over you." And so the English words Passover is used in this part of the world by the Jews to represent this annual time of remembering their deliverance from Egypt. And they have a very elaborate dinner involving 4 cups of wine and lamb and the haroset and the matzah and they all have symbolic meaning to their references to what their foreparents experienced in Egypt. They also have something called moror, which is a bitter herb. They have something that tastes bitter, something that tastes sweet. They also have the children they hide the matzah, which they call the afikomen, and the children find this, and they tell stories about the bitter experiences of the bitterness of slavery and the sweetness of freedom. And but there is a component in their worship. They keep the door open during the Passover, and they keep a cup of wine. A cup of wine is kept there for Elijah. They expect Elijah to come. But Elijah did come. Elijah is actually John the Baptist, and he was the prophet that came. But John the Baptist said that I am only a voice crying in the wilderness, and he came to announce the coming of the real Messiah, that is Jesus Christ. Now, the wars that the world has experienced, as we have on our topic, the warfare. Warfare is due to man's not connecting to the relationship that comes, and the peace that comes through relationship with the King of Peace. And Melchizedek was that symbol, because his name meant the King of Righteousness and the King of Peace. The warfare that is now being experienced throughout the world is due to disconnect to the Prince of Peace and to the essence of the Christian message, the Christian gospel, which is by grace are ye saved through faith, and not of yourself, but the gift of God, as any man should boast. Now the worship, we found that when Jesus celebrated the Passover, there was wine